Hello, everyone, and welcome to this second edition of the TAP series. For those who are not familiar with the concept, TAP is the acronym of Talks on Architecture and Beyond. My name is Maria from Marketing Cosentino, Asia, and it's a pleasure and honor once again to restart this knowledge platform after the successful edition in the 2019. Cosentino, as one of the global leader manufacturing innovative surfaces for the architecture and design industry, aimed at somehow promoting knowledge, education, and foster the critical thinking contributed to build a better community and therefore a better world. And this platform is meant to be that. To give you some facts, every year the company supports, sponsors, and partners hundreds of actions and initiatives around the world that helps to innovate in the architecture and design world. We collaborate with architects, designers to launch collections around twice a year, offering to the market the high quality, beautiful, and long-lasting functional products that are also environmentally friendly. Because as a company, sustainable development is an essential cornerstone, and protect the environment is one of our most important commitments in our value chain. That's why Cosentino promotes continuously the circular economy, the reduction of waste, and to extend the product life cycle, promoting recycling. And all of these aspects, innovation, sustainable development, and production, have a lot to do with architecture and design. So this second edition of the TAP series is about to be more conscious about the time and resources we invest in building the future we want. This year, the TAP series is about the making of architecture and the notion of time. Along the year, there will be different quarterly things, but all related to each other, that later Jan will explain briefly. And to finish this introduction, I want to point out that this is a platform to empower the architecture and design community in the Southeast Asia. Every month, we will have a talented and inspiring practitioner from Singapore and from the region to share insights, personal stories, and projects on how architecture shapes the world around us. And obviously, we have a partner and a curator of this TAP series. We collaborate in 2019 with Jan Folling, and this year we do the same. I believe that most of you already know him quite well. Jan is the managing director of Wito Architects, with office in Singapore and Paris. And Jan has a rich multicultural experience from these years around Southeast Asia and a great diverse expertise in sustainable architecture. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, how are you? It's a pleasure.
I'm very good.
Again, a pleasure to work with you again with this platform. And well, thanks for being a voice to spread sustainability and good practice that help to build a better environment around us. Jan, you take the floor.
Okay.
As I think our audience is looking forward to listen our guest today. And just one last thing to the audience, please use the YouTube chat to formulate any questions, and at the end of the session we will be responding. Thank you very much, and enjoy the TAP. Jan, everything is yours.
Thank you very much, Maria. So first of all, Happy New Year, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back on the TAP series. We had an amazing and successful first series of the TAB in 2019 that led to a publication. So that was a fantastic year. And so this year, it's a special year. So Cosentino invited us again to curate for this new series of talks. And it is inevitable that the way that we would curate that would be like following also the impact of what we have experienced in 2020. So just a little bit of explanation on the how we approach this series of this year. The pandemic has questioned, challenged many things around the world, including how we look at architecture and how we look at the built environment. And this moment where everything is slowing down, and so we start to observe how architecture is being done, and even how cities are being done. So it is what we would like to advocate this year, the making of architecture, and to promote a certain pace to do it, perhaps a slow pace in doing this. Architecture cannot be done overnight. Cities, buildings, built environment takes months, years in the making, in the planning, in the development, and in the construction, and after, for the life of all of these buildings. And that's what we would like to do this year, to look into the making of architecture through different steps, different stages. So for the ones who are familiar with it, concept and inception, development and documentation, fabrication and construction, and even life and afterlife, talking about circularity in our built environment, and clearly to promote the making, how architects are basically developing all of their ideas from the very first sketch to the birth of the project. And that's what we'll be having month after month, quarter after quarter. And we will have some even guest speakers from the region to open our TAP series to Southeast Asia. So now we start with the first speakers that will be sharing with us their practice, how they do architecture and how they do design, how they conceive built environment, and from the very first concept, the very first ideas. So I'm very happy, very proud, not proud, honored to welcome today my dear friends, Mark and Naoko from the famous Takenuchi Web. And so that will be sharing with us today their practice. I would like to give a bit of an introduction, maybe for the ones who don't really know who are Mark and Naoko. So Takenuchi Web was established in 2006. Mark is British, Naoko, she's Japanese. They are both living in Singapore, and they offer this integrated design, system thinking, in the way that they develop architecture, interior, all the way to furniture. I experienced their spaces. I'm a fan. So I'm very excited to see what they will be sharing with us today. It will be surely refreshing, inspiring, and to show this balance between design and function, time and passion, with their making of architecture. So Naoko and Mark, if we were in the real life, I would like clap the hands and say a round of applause to Mark and Naoko.
We'll give a round of applause for ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you. Jan.
Thanks to Cosentino for inviting us. Very honored to have this invitation. So I guess I go straight into it. So today, let me just put this on. Yeah. So today's talk, we're going to. I'm just going to give a background of little bit about our office, and how our office works, and then more concentrate on one of our projects. So just to give a little background. So Naoko and myself, we began our studio, as Jan said, in 2006. We were both previously working for other architects in Singapore for a couple of years, and then we got together, and we decided we had an opportunity to set up our own office. So we started our office, and we've always had a very close connection between where we live and where we work. Our first studio was in our house for the first few years, and then we moved to another studio very close by. So we were always this boundary between our our home life and our work life is always quite close. And so this is actually I thought I'd start with this few images of this. So this is our current apartment. So we recently renovated this space, and I thought it would be a good place to start because I think when you look at a designer's house as well, you can always tell they're their own client, so you can always get a good feel for what the direction is and how they're thinking. And I think this is a good representation of how we think about things and how we think about space. So it's like a walk-up apartment. So it was built in 1959. I think designers always drawn to old buildings as well for some reason. So it was in a very terrible state, and we saw a lot of potential in this building. So we totally renovated it. So I think the key things in our design. I mean, we have quite a wide variety of design projects that we work on, and different kind of briefs from clients and different styles that we need to adapt to because of the brief. But I think the key elements that we kind of like to bring through, one is materiality. So I think we're always very interested in, as designers, in the materials. We like kind of long-lasting, beautiful materials that weather well. So I mean, in this case for our apartment, we used a lot of timber, terrazzo, and a very kind of simple base for the walls. And then how those materials kind of act with each other, the kind of harmony between the materials, and also the response to the building and the site as well. So in this case, I mean, it had really great quality of light coming into this space. So we really opened up the front part here, and in the case of our apartment, we actually don't use aircon at all in this space. So it has great cross ventilation and a very kind of tropical way of living. So as a small office, I think our design is always a reflection of ourselves, because there's mainly the two of us, and we're always involved in every project in the office. So I think our personal design philosophy comes through in all of our projects. So we wanted to keep just to talk a little bit more about the house. So we wanted to keep it very simple. And I think for residential project, as opposed to commercial project, it's important not to kind of over-design the space. You want to leave room for the owners to kind of grow into the house over the years. So it's something that we were quite conscious of here. So the base is quite neutral, and we have a lot of areas for displaying artwork and objects and our kids' art that changes quite a lot. So I think what we like about this, it's definitely modern in its design, but it has a warmth to it, and I think that's something we like to bring through into all our projects, to have this sense of warmth and materiality. So moving on to a little bit about our projects. So over the years, we worked on a quite wide range of typologies and scales of projects, primarily in restaurant, hotel, residential, bar projects, but also office spaces, furniture, office spaces. So it really varies quite a lot. I mean, unlike the residential projects, I think for commercial projects, you really have to respond. We have to respond more to the brief, and in a restaurant's case, the type of cuisine. So all those elements is like another factor that comes into it. But I think underlying is the same kind of principle and the same design thought that we put into all of our projects. So I think primarily we try to create, I would say, quite timeless designs that respond to the site and to the brief. And when you have that kind of harmony of those elements, I think you can get hopefully get the best project we can. So this is actually our first project that we built in Singapore. This was White Rabbit. So this is a heritage church in Dempsey Road. So we converted this into a restaurant space. And then we also somehow worked a lot on heritage projects over the years. So one key thing with those is we always like to kind of strip back what's been done before, and kind of see the beauty of the building and respond to that element as well. This is a project. This is called Loof. This is a rooftop bar in Singapore. So again, more a commercial project, but again, we kind of tried to simplify quite a lot in terms of the elements and the materiality. On a bigger scale, we also did Tanjong Beach Club. Tanjong Beach Club is on Sentosa. And for this project, we were fortunate that we were able to develop the architecture as well. So this was a great project for us because we did the architecture down to like the door handles and the tiniest details. So it was a great pleasure to work on this one. Again, it was the influence for this was there's a beach club. So we looked at kind of Singapore, some Singapore elements, some like Miami beach clubs, and tried to kind of meld these together into this design. So again, in terms of materials, it's quite simple, quite pared back. But yeah, we really like this one. And on the other end, this is Black Swan. So this project there was quite a strong direction in terms of the brief and in terms of the site. This was located in a bank, an old bank, a 1920s bank in Singapore. And the brief from the client was to do a Art Deco inspired bar and restaurant. So instead of making it we wanted to avoid making it very thematic. So again, we looked at a lot of kind of Art Deco buildings and interiors and kind of identified a few kind of key materials, key motifs, like this chevron patterning, this maroon marble. And we kind of brought that into the space, and through our kind of filter, developed this kind of our interpretation of Art Deco. This is Potato Head in Keong Saik Road, another heritage building that we've worked on. So that's another aspect that we have to deal with a lot of our projects is the heritage side of the shop houses that we work in. This is White Grass, which is a restaurant in Singapore. I think also we like to give a sense of place to a lot of our projects. So in this instance, we worked with a local artist to kind of, they developed this mural based on conversations with the chef. So it has a very, quite unique and very, very specific to Singapore in a way, and specific to the site and specific to the chef. This is in the Asian Civilization Museum, another heritage building we worked on. So this was a Chinese restaurant in a colonial building. So this project, again, it was how we kind of create this balance of the colonial elements, the Chinese elements, but to be in some harmony and not kind of overpowering each other. This is in Jewel. This is Shang Social. So this was called the Marketplace, and it was for Shangri-La hotels. They took kind of their best chefs and developed this concept for more kind of casual dining. So again, we wanted to give this some sense of Singapore, some sense of Southeast Asia, some sense of the cuisine that was being served, but in a very quite subtle way. This is Geylang clay pot. Again, this was our interpretation of a Singapore coffee shop. That it was a very old established restaurant that moved to a new location. So we wanted to we took certain elements of coffee shop elements and developed them with this kind of modern palette, modern colors, but using materials and motifs that we saw in existing coffee shops. And then on the other end of the spectrum, this is a Sora, which is a fine dining Japanese restaurant. And again, it needed to be a very simple design, but we took some very simplified the elements of a Japanese restaurant and kind of interpreted them in this way. This is French Fold, which we just completed, which is a French creperie, again in a shop house. And then shop house always has this problem of being very, very long and narrow and quite dark at the back. So we in this case we used where the skylight was in the center of the space to kind of create this kind of garden with a large table underneath. So this is some of our residential projects. So for residential projects, it's again quite different. The owner's taste is very strong, and it's kind of a very long and conversations that we always have with clients for residential. We're also working on a project with Capital Land for some service departments. This is Katamama. So for this, we did the hotel rooms. And we've also worked on show flat projects. This is Marina One. And also on the other end of the scale, we've done kind of some product design as well. So we worked, this is Kyo Project. So we worked with some makers in Japan to kind of work with them to develop some new products. So I think the other thing is I think from showing this is that whatever the scale or the brief or the type of project, we always approach in the same kind of way. So primarily today, I wanted to just focus on one project. So the project I want to look at is Straits Clan. So Straits Clan is it's in Chinatown. It's a private members club, and previously it's the building on the right-hand side. It was previously it was the New Majestic Hotel, which was, I think, one of Singapore's first, maybe the first kind of boutique hotel that opened in 2006. And it has a very interesting history. The street is very interesting, and the brief from the client was very interesting as well. So it's actually an Art Deco shop house. So within this kind of range of shop houses, it was built in 1928, and it was actually originally built as a place for rich businessmen to house their mistresses secretly, maybe not that secretly, in Singapore. So it has quite an interesting past, and even today it's kind of sandwiched on both sides by these two millionaire clubs, so kind of business clubs on either side. So the client's brief to us was they wanted to, I mean, they named it Straits Clan, and they wanted to take their inspiration from the clan associations in Singapore. And interestingly, still on this street, there are a couple of clan associations still there. So they used to be a very core part of Singapore society, and I think the client really wanted to kind of reproduce this in a club and in a modern kind of way. So the brief to us was to kind of create this club, which was very much rooted in Singapore and very rooted in Southeast Asia as well. So the very beginning concept design, I mean, we always kind of starting almost from a blank sheet of paper. We looked at, kind of took a very broad look at the cultural kind of influences in Singapore with no clear direction, but just looking at motifs, looking at colors, looking at patterns, looking at materials, so like Peranakan, Chinese, Malay. I mean, how these may affect our design, we didn't really know. So it's very much kind of broad background research. So also the colonial, the aspects of the existing building, and then also modernist Singapore elements from modernist Singapore that we also always like. And then the key element for us when we're starting a design is always the plan. So when we're developing the project, I mean, this is the stage where there's really so much backwards and forwards with the client. I mean, we're taking in the client's brief, but also we kind of listening to the site, because the site also informs to us where things should go and how people should move in the space. And I think there comes a point somewhere in this discussion where something kind of clicks and we just know it feels right. So it may not be the final plan, but yeah, we just kind of know instinctively when everything's in the right position. So it was a very complex brief we had. I mean, it was the building is actually made up of 4 shop house units, and it's very long and very deep. So there was also the issue with no real natural light at the back of the space on this level. So also the program that we had to fit in terms of functional spaces was always very complicated. There was restaurants, bar, gym, spa, co-working, a lot of different elements that we had to kind of shift around. So basically it's on four levels. So this is the ground floor. Then as you go up to the second floor, there's a courtyard space. So we have you get a bit more natural light coming into these 2 wings. And then again on the next floor up, level 3, you also have these 2 wings here with this block at the front. And then there was also an attic space at the top. So this is also a listed heritage building. So again, one aspect was to look at the facade and restore the facade, restore as much as we could of the existing architectural details. And then a key part for the client was also, I mean, the kind of traditional members club is very kind of closed off, but we also wanted to very much engage it with the street and engage it with the public on the ground floor. So the front part of the ground floor is actually open to members of the public to come in. So we kind of created this glazed facade at the front. So one aspect was to look at the existing architectural elements. In terms of the heritage part that we had to maintain, it was primarily the the facade, and what's going on behind was a bit more flexible. So there were some key things, and again, we kind of like to, especially with heritage building, kind of listen to the building a little bit to see what clues we can get to implement into our design. So after that, we kind of went back again. We kind of revisited those kind of cultural elements that we looked at before, and then we tried to distill it down to more into kind of materials and motifs that we could maybe bring into the space. So there were some key materials that we wanted to use. So there was rattan, breeze blocks. We always like using breeze blocks. Then Peranakan, the very nice glazed wall tiles and floor tiles. So these are the kind of cementatious floor tiles that you often see in the front of shop houses. And then the use of terrazzo and Shanghai plaster as well. Again, it kind of evokes a certain era, a certain design. So looking at a few of the areas in a bit more detail. So this is the lounge. So the main entrance was here. Actually, this plan was kind of revised slightly, but in principle, this lounge and cafe was the part that was open to the public. So we wanted this to be very bright. It had a lot of natural light at the front. So the palette for here was quite bright and quite fresh. So we started off with some 3D sketches, more looking at the spatial elements, without having, I mean, we have in the back of our minds having some small idea about material and textures and patterns, but more on a spatial level. So this was the first idea for kind of the entrance area. So we wanted to have a lot of lounge seating, a lot of display for objects, and then the space behind was where the restaurant was, the main restaurant. So then from that kind of preliminary sketch, we then move into more 3D modeling, but again, quite simplified, just so we're able to kind of walk around the space. And then we start to kind of put in a bit more detail in terms of the materials and the patterning. So this is in the lounge area, looking at the bar. So there's a bar and cafe, and then we really wanted to have this concrete block wall to allow it has make some division between the main restaurant and the front part. So some of the light from the front could come into this quite dark back area. So then the next step is to, again, go back to looking at materials and then how these materials can be incorporated. So more our material palette, our color palette starts to come into play into the design. So how we identified like rattan, marble, terrazzo, this tile to kind of bring into the space. And then from then we look at more in detailed elements and then really try to put in the materials for that particular area. So from developing one area, like this was the preliminary design for the reception, this then kind of somehow informs the rest of the space. So for the floor tile, we really like that, the cementatious tile that we often see at the front of shop houses. So another thing for us was to use regional or local artisans to kind of make customized products for us if it was possible. So for this floor tile, we got made in Indonesia. So we developed this module that we took into the main space and had this terrazzo grid on the edges of it. And this was the flooring. And then we also worked with a local artist as well here to do a mural on one part of the wall. So we really wanted this tropical feel to come through. So they developed this hand-painted mural on the wall. So again, it has this, it's very much kind of rooted in Singapore, has this tropical element to it, and using some local artists to develop it. So for the concrete block, this was the design that we developed, and again, this was made in Indonesia. So this was the prototype. So it's just one module that we kind of rotated to create this wall dividing the front part of the restaurant to the back. So this was the wall here. And then after the kind of built-in pieces are developed and the materials are settled, then the next level is looking at the loose furniture. So we broadly look at the kind of furniture references we were looking at to implement, and then for decorative lighting as well. So then these are just the final renders that were done and presented to the client before we started construction. So this is the main space. So one thing about the building as well was previously it was a 30-room hotel, and the spaces have been very, very segregated and divided up. So we really tried to open up the space as much as possible and kind of reveal the beauty of the building inside. So this is the final design. This is the reception area. So yeah, we used, in terms of material, there's some notion of heritage which comes through from the materials. This is the lobby area. So this is the cafe and the reception, and then another level of as well is the accessorizing, which was done by the client, which really adds another level of design and beauty to the space. So we use these. In this slide, we also used Thai ceramic tiles on surrounding the columns. And then this is you can see the concrete wall the concrete block separating the main restaurant. So the restaurant was quite a difficult space. It was very dark. There was skylight above, to the terrace above, but the client wanted this to be a much darker space. But we wanted to create connection between the two areas. So we didn't want to make it like you're walking into a totally different environment. So through materials and patterns that we used in the other area, we changed the pattern, changed the color to kind of make this connection between the two spaces. So again, this is the first kind of sketches that we did, 3D sketches. And again, with material, so the palette was much darker here, and then we bring this through to the elevations. So there was a lot of tile, same tile that's used in the cafe area, but a darker, richer tone. This was the prototype for this. And so, yeah, we experimented quite a lot with the color and the patterning to create these modules. And these are the tiles that we used, the Thai ceramic tiles. So again, this is the render, the final render, which is quite close to the final one. This is the main restaurant. So for looking the other way, you really it's not totally separated off from the other space. You have noise and light coming through these concrete blocks. And there was some private dining rooms as well on either side. And then for this project, there was quite a lot of customization in terms of door handles, lighting, decorative lighting. Then moving up to the next level. So every space was quite different. I think that was one of the main challenges of this project. So this space was a bar that we wanted to be a bit more kind of colonial in its feel. It looks out onto an outdoor terrace. So this is a members only space. So these were the first kind of elevations that we did. So the main focus was this. It was quite a small space, but the main focus was this semicircular bar. But again, using same materials, the rattan, even some of the decorative lighting was a variation of the decorative lighting on the other floor. So this, I think, as a guest experience, although the space has a very different feel, you have a sense of continuity as you're going through. So it's a bit more lush palette in terms of wallpaper and patterning. And then the furniture reference, we wanted to use cane furniture. And these were the references for the lighting. So this was the final render and the final space. Then off this bar, there was also, on this floor, there was another restaurant, a kind of secret bar, and then this party room. So the party room is intended just for nighttime use. So we came up with this concept of having like tropical safari disco room. So the only brief from the client was they wanted a pole in the middle of the space. So we wanted to treat it, have the furniture items treated as very sculptural elements within the space. So these were just the reference images for that. So we really went a bit overboard in terms of using wallpaper, using color, but this was only intended as a nighttime space. So we thought needed to be stronger in terms of color and patterning. So this was the preliminary 3D sketch that we did. This is the final space. So we really created this other world that you kind of go into. But what again wanted it to be these objects to be very sculptural. So the platform for the pole is just these 3 slabs of marble. And then also on this floor there was a small kind of secret cigar room. So again, another totally different feel, much darker, much more intimate space. And there was also another dining area. So this dining area was looking out onto the terrace, so much brighter feel to it. And again, using same materials but reinterpreted in a different way. So here we used the Shanghai plaster on the wall, and then we also developed this floor tile as well from the same company. So next level up, there was this space was much brighter. So this was called a reading room. So intended more as a kind of co-working, very bright library kind of space. So palette was much lighter, but again we wanted this warmth to it. So timber, terrazzo with kind of brass elements. Some furniture and lighting references. So these were the renders, preliminary renders. There's also a kind of changing art exhibition here. So it's very much a daytime space. This was the final space. So it has, again, it's using similar materials, terrazzo floor, the timber, leather. So the palette is quite similar, but it really has a totally different feel to the other areas. Then off that area as well was a small spa. Again, I guess the theme of this whole level was to be very bright and a very daytime kind of space. So it was reflexology with yes, lots of natural light coming from both sides. So a very kind of bright palette. And then we kind of moderated the light using like day curtains on the windows and day curtains between the reflexology chairs. So also our detail, we take a lot of attention to our detailing. And then at one point there was discussion with the client, and we did develop 3 guest rooms for the space. But after developing, it was actually too difficult to operate only 3 rooms in this space. So this didn't get built in the end. And in the end, they turned into meeting rooms. But we did develop the full kind of design for these spaces. So again, it was kind of a very simplified design, but again using similar materials, similar palettes. So again, like rattan and terrazzo marble. So I mean, the construction for this project was around, I think, 7 to 8 months for the whole thing. And then before that, there was, I guess, about 6 months of drawing. So when we took over the site, it was actually still running as the hotel until we took over the site. So when we took over the site and we started to demolish everything and took all the partitions out between the rooms, which would really divided up the whole space, there were kind of a lot of surprises. So we had to change quite a lot the detailing of our design, but we really took everything out, really opened up the space. So we, beyond the final product, there was a lot of drawing, a lot of detailing. I mean, down to kind of, bar edges, and I mean, everything we detail and document quite thoroughly. And then the contractor, their main factory is in Singapore. So we were fortunate that for most of the built-in items, we were able to do full-scale mock-ups. So in the factory, we did a lot of mock-ups. So the one on the left is the restaurant reception. On the right is the level 2 bar. So it really helped to be able to do this. So I think in conclusion, I think we hope with all our projects that we can create timeless spaces that can develop over time and that people will hopefully enjoy. Thank you.
Great. Am I on screen? Thank you. Okay, yes, I'm on screen. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark and Naoko. I've been taking a lot of notes because I have many questions. So first of all, thank you very much for bringing us through your practice from your home. So it's rare to see the home of designers and architects. And I can recognize in your home basically you. Let's say you is like your project and the feeling of your project. I've been visiting many of your projects in Singapore. The one that you shared with us, the Straits Clan, I did not see it because it's a members club, so I did not have the opportunity in going upstairs.
Thank you.
Yeah. So and it was like great to discover it. And what is amazing with your work is that it's always right. It seems that things are there in the right way. Everything falls into place in the right way, in terms of materiality, in terms of composition, sequences, how you bring basically the people inside and how they will experience the space. So I think the Straits Clan project seems to be, from what I can see, one of the most challenging projects that you did. Because it's this ecosystem of multiple components, and actually it's a microcosm of multiple elements. So it is where I have like the most of my questions is like, how can you at one point create unity because it is one brand, it is Straits Clan, but at the same time you create different atmospheres. And how do you bring the people inside? Some are through materials or lighting, but I'm very curious on how you worked out even the threshold, how you go from one space to another. So how did you juggle between unity and uniqueness?
The hardest part was actually like the differentiation. So usually when we take when we do one project, it's usually one style, but within the certain space, we have to really push ourselves to read lots of different style. So we have to push lots of our own boundary, from karaoke room to party room to co-working space to cafe to restaurant to event space. So variation was very, very difficult. But unity part is actually not as hard as variation part, because before we start project, we did research of what kind of material we want to use, what kind of basically with material, we express the locality, the Singapore 1930s building by using the rattan, terrazzo, Shanghai plaster, homemade tile. So using those with different language, I think the key is using same material.
There's within those different spaces, there's actually quite a lot of repetition of material. That I think, but treating it in a different way or detailing it in a different way, you create a totally different atmosphere, different feel.
And in that, because there is a question from the audience that is very close to one question that I was having in mind as well. You keep repeating, and then we go back to the materials, and then we go back to the materials, and then we develop based on that. And so is that your design philosophy? What is your design philosophy?
That's a difficult question. I think a big part is the site, actually, as well. Our designs are very rational in a way. It's decorative because it's a commercial project, but there's a lot of rational thought which goes into it. And that also defines the way that the project goes and the way the design develops, I think.
But also always like we visit the site and then we got so much inspiration from the site. Sometimes it's a heritage buildings has got very strong character, or if that is quite simple building, it has also have volume of the space or like opening, like how does the light coming through, or like orientation of the access to the outside. So all those like a site inspiration, we really soaked up on site first visit, and then back into the office, looking at facing the drawing board, and then really think how functionally it works, to connect space, program, and function on the drawing board. Access to the outside. So all.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. So that is yeah.
Yes, and then in this you mentioned something that is important, and locality, learning from the site, going back to the site, learning from the site, and at the beginning of your talk, you listed like many projects, and every time you say, oh, heritage, that's a heritage project, that's a heritage project. Is it something that Takenouchi Web like to work on? Something that is like working in the heritage kind of context, something that has a soul, and then you contribute even more to the soul. Is it your DNA, something that you love doing?
Yeah, I think the more interesting a site is, the more history it has, the more it can inform the design in a way at the beginning. So it kind of gives you more clues. It gives you a head start as to how to proceed. Like you dig away a bit, and you know there's a richness to it. So I think it's definitely challenging to work on, but
also feel always challenging. When I remember first time I visited White Rabbit Church, it was really like a beautiful space. It's ruined, but it's beautiful space. So we felt very strong responsibility to pass this space, pass this beautiful space as we felt first time we visited. So we shouldn't by designing it. Sometimes we sometimes it might ruin, because when it's built was long time ago. So the environment changed. We have to put lots of M&E, lots of aircon aspect, which originally built it wasn't there. So yeah, when we face into the old shop house, old building, we always felt strong responsibility.
And that you are identifying a very strong point that we are facing at the moment in the architecture community and even some other places around the world, is that this sense of responsibility of the architect towards the future, preserving heritage, providing a strong adaptive reuse, which is exactly what you've been doing in most of your projects, giving life again to old spaces, and that's a commitment. It's a commitment towards sustainability, towards the future, the legacy that we leave. Is it something that you feel is important in your practice, or perhaps it is intuitive, underlying in conservation towards sustainability?
I guess yes, but also as well as old historical building, but any design, any building we design and build, we feel equally responsible for we have to, our responsibility part is to build something nice, so people can enjoy, but also can be loved for long lasting. So therefore, it doesn't demolish every 3 years. So I think our part of the contribution to society is create a really beautiful space which people can love and then can last.
Yeah, I think that's very important, and we see how you worked on that on large scale, like Straitsclan and other large spaces like this. But you also shared with us your home. So how do you translate? So that's a question actually from the audience. Huh? So I'm trying to convey it to you. How do you work basically with all of these principles from larger scale project to smaller scale project when it comes to residential, which is what you did, and even would you bring that to even smaller units, smaller cells, like student hostel, for example?
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I think our approach, like for example, for our house, or it is actually always the same in a way. I think the processes we go through, quite hard to kind of say exactly what those what they are. It's not like a very that systematic process that we go through, but our way of thinking and our approach, I think, is always the same. I mean, there's always external elements, like yes, like I said, like for commercial projects, it's maybe the type of cuisine that's being served, which has an influence on the design, or very functional aspects of the operation. But our kind of filter, I guess, and I think that thing about all the projects are very much part of us, because of the nature of our office and the size of our office. I think it always goes through the same process.
Also, the secret ingredients for is kind of lab towards project, because whether it's a small project or big project, we really need looking at very closely, and then lots of concentration. Like so, if you run out of your energy or like lab, it's always easily go like how do you say, lose soul.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, the like spiritually, you really want to keep it like tight with lab towards a project, and then physically also like how you can concentrate like to the project. So
that's great what you are saying, because it's you are almost am I here? Does it work?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Okay, because I think the screen is a bit frozen, so I don't know if you can hear me, but
we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So if you can, yeah, it's a bit fun. So if you can hear me, is that like you almost responded to a question that is coming from the audience, is that what could be the best advice to give to interior design students that are at the moment working on their own like schools and so on. So what could be the best advice or your recipe to share with them?
I mean, I think one of the great things about our industry and our profession is you're always learning. I mean, we're always learning as well. We every day is like you're learning something new. Every client is a new experience. So I think being very open to everything, open to other designs and products, and it's like constant soaking up. And I think if you love that and you keep that passion, I think I think passion and enthusiasm are the most important.
Yeah, keep your most the source of hue for us is curiosity, and then like how much we like what we are doing. So unfortunately, we can't really travel now, but like still just walking from home to work, or like through internet, you can find something you like, something makes your heart jumping. So you always keep your eyes open and then get curiosity going.
I think that that is important to keep the curiosity and to always be fresh to new ideas and to look for new ideas. I think we are reaching almost the end of our first talk. I noticed that there is a slight glitch somewhere. I'm sure the technical team is working on it at the moment. Okay, maybe the very last question.
You're back.
Okay, it's back. Okay, fine. Right. Okay, sure. Okay, there is one very last question because we are already at the end of the talk. Because I just see the one question arriving here. Of course, you are a couple, so of course the question always arrives. How do you work together? Do you work together, first of all? And if yes, how do you work together? Of course. And did you work together on the Straits Clan?
How we work? I mean, we actually sit this close every day. So we do work together, and every project in the office we both work on. And I mean, I think we take up our kind of love and passion for design. I think we always take with us, and we take home, and when we travel, and when we're seeing, when we're with our kids, it's something that we absorb and we take in. But we definitely, anything kind of too office related, I think stops when we leave the office. But the design part, I think we carry through the whole of our lives. But yes, when we go home, that's it. That's a secret.
That's the secret for a successful company, and the secret of a successful love story as well. So no, it's great, and looking at your body of work, we can really see also an evolution. There is more and more quality to your work, and more experience, more and more feeling, more and more emotions, and that's the beauty of your practice. I also. I was having a very last question, and that is one of the audience as well that thought of that, which is, in your practice, do you refer to only aesthetic values or also theoretical background, theoretical framework in what you insert in your project? And that will be the very last question, and after I will leave you going home.
I think I find theory, I mean, somehow theory is easier and more applicable in a way to architectural projects, I find, than interior projects. I think in interior projects is more about, yes, the materiality, the experience, the experience of inhabiting the space. So I think we're definitely not a theory-driven office in the way we develop our designs at all. But I mean, if we are, I would say it's a theory of rationality in terms of the plan and the experience for the guest or whoever's in the building.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we are reaching the end of our talk. So it was a true pleasure to have you for this very first talk. I think we are starting on a great note, on a positive note, a promising note for 2021 to bring us through your practice and your different projects. It's always a pleasure to see the behind the scene and to understand how the magic is being done. And you are doing a lot of magic. So thanks again for making us dreaming for the start of the year. I wish you all the best, big success for Takinuchi Web, and thanks again to our audience to be here with us today. I see you, or we see you in 1 month. We will be announcing very soon the next speaker. Very interesting as well. So I will just leave Maria the closing note. Thanks again, Mark and Naoko. A pleasure. And Maria, the floor is yours.